Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's the end of June, June 27th to be exact. It's getting close to the 4th of July. And there are interviews and there are interviews. And this is one of those interviews that's very close to me, only because I identify so much with what Rhiannon Neuharth is doing, has done, especially in the field of nutrition. We're going to talk about that. It's my great belief we don't do enough with nutrition here on Earth, and how important it is. And I would like to build myself as a poster boy for proper nutrition can allow you to function well beyond. So I'm a poster boy because I've been doing fairly good nutrition now since 1975, and it allows this thing up here, this precious thing up here, to function full throttle at my advanced age. And so there are reasons for that, and part of that we will talk to Rhiannon about. But I want to read, before I introduce Rhiannon officially, I want to read the title, Rhiannon Neuharth, CFNC. She's a certified functional nutritional counselor. We're going to find out what that is. She's a CTIC certified trauma informed coach. She's also very involved in MTHFR. It's a gene which causes all kinds of problems if it ain't working. And we're live from Florida. And again, once again, I'm always grateful to the spirits of the internet for making the connection that brought me to Rhiannon so we can have this discussion. So this is my monologue. It wasn't laced with Johnny Carson humor, so be it. But it's my monologue anyway, and a great pleasure, Rhiannon, to introduce you, and how about just starting out with a little background and bio. Pick it away.
Thanks, Calvin. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. So as you mentioned, my name is Rhiannon Neuharth. I am a certified functional nutritionist, and I really focus on supporting my clients that have MTHFR. And if you're listening to this and you've never heard of that before, it is a gene that can cause a lot of different issues. And for a lot of people, it's kind of the missing piece to their puzzle of what they've been looking at for so long that's tied back to so many different issues. There's hundreds of things that are connected to methylation. Things that are common that I see in my practice are things like, autism, ADHD, pregnancy or loss or infertility, brain fog, a lot of different symptoms that, to be honest, a lot of women experience, but it doesn't mean men don't either, but maybe women are just more aware of that and those changes. And so I have a history of that with my family. And so that's what got me into this and why I've started. And now not just making an impact for my family, but able to impact other people's families as well. So
Okay, and we're gonna really dive
unpack it.
Yeah, we're gonna unpack it because it's fascinating. Backtracking your Midwestern origins, and I know you did a lot of stuff in Nebraska working with athletic trainers, and you had some remarkable results way back growing up, correct?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was overweight. I was never introduced to a healthy lifestyle. There was no such thing really as home cooked meals. It was, busy family on the go and soccer practices and those types of things. So eating a good, balanced, healthy diet was not in our realm. So I ended up in high school overweight and afterwards, and my siblings being in sports were doing this athletic training, and they had basically like first kid full price, second kid, half price, third kid free. And I got to be the third kid free. So I was, 18, 19 years old working out with 12-year-olds, and they were kicking my butt. And it was extremely intimidating and a little bit depressing to begin with. But it was just knowing like that those people were encouraging me to keep going. They knew that I wanted to be there. And so I really appreciated that. And with their guidance is really where I learned, portion control and eating and all of those types of things that I wasn't necessarily getting from school or from home. And so learning those types of things at an early age, I'm extremely thankful for. And I've kept that weight off even despite having 2 kids, and I've lost even more weight since then. So
The whole weight loss thing we could talk about later too.
yeah.
I'm fascinated by that. I put myself, I mean, this is off topic. I put myself just about 2 years ago on some form of my own form of intermittent fasting,
Mhm.
which I guess is part of nutrition. And we never even talked about this before when we talked, but it's allowed me to lose 53 pounds.
Yep.
And it becomes a way of life. Well,
Yeah.
proper nutrition,
Yeah.
and the whole package, it becomes a way of life. And I don't think I could ever go back, just like you just said.
Mhm.
It's a way of life, and it's a great way of life. Because I mean, I could sit in front of a TV and eat a half-gallon ice cream. It's not the case anymore. Anyway, your journeys take you. It sounds like, by the way, it sounds like this is your life. You know, we said that. So your
Yeah.
journeys take you to Florida. And was it in Florida when you discovered that your daughter had an issue with MTHFR?
Yeah, so we actually, both kids were born in Nebraska. We ended up leaving Nebraska, moved to Missouri for almost 2 years. And during that time, we had kind of started on a natural health journey because of her antibody deficiency. So she was about 2 when we discovered she was missing her IgA antibody. And that was leading to chronic upper respiratory infection. She'd been sick basically since birth. She had bacterial pneumonia at 3 months old. Like it was rough. And so I, as a parent, was diving down the rabbit hole, and a former science teacher, looking for answers, trying to find those things. And so when I found that, we started on a natural, more holistic, but we still had, her on medication every month, essentially, to support her and her health. And then when we moved to Florida, we had a new pediatrician, and she just tested for it. She didn't even tell me anything about it. I've never heard of it before. Get these labs back, and I'm like, what in the world is this? I don't know what these letters mean. And so me, being a nerd, hop on the internet and start Googling. And that's really what I think most people do, and why I do what I do, because there's so much information on Google. It can be overwhelming and contradictory. And I wish I had something like what I do now back then, which is why I've created that. But for her, she was still going through all these different health issues, and it kind of was another piece of that puzzle of like, okay, well, that's our next step and the next thing we could focus on. So that is for a lot of people. And again, why I've come to support this community, because there's just not a lot of structured framework
Right,
for
right.
supporting.
So the end result with your daughter is she's just perfect now.
Yeah, yeah. So she was chronically ill since birth, and then about 2 years old is when we started, doing different things with her diet, getting food sensitivity testing, and that's really what led us to the IgA, or led me to the IgA research, and figuring out that she had that. Got testing for that done, and then it was medication after medication after medication after medication with her. Unfortunately, that ended up frying her gut, and that. When we got to Missouri, she ended up with a head to toe yeast infection because her gut was just so destroyed, unfortunately. And we had already started putting her on herbs and essential oils and different tinctures and stuff like that because, my background before was a little bit of a blend of Western medicine and holistic because of how I was brought up. But, it's one thing to see your kid completely miserable and suffering when they're sick, but it's one thing to see it every single month for 2 weeks at a time for, every 4 to 6 weeks. And it was exhausting for all of us. She never slept. And I sometimes look back and go, how did we all make it through that? Because it was really, really hard times. But now she's completely healthy, happy, even through the COVID times. She was only down for a day, which
Wow,
surprised us all.
wow.
Um, because we didn't know what to expect with her health complications on top of everything else. And we were incredibly thankful when she was only down for a day. And that just goes to show how much work I've put in to support her body over the years. And doing that was kind of like, she was like my test subject for my clients. So now I'm like, I can confidently say that the things I do and suggest work because she's living proof,
Right. Yeah, as I go through the aging process, there are things I learn, and you are the personification of that you need in this amazing in this amazing time of knowledge. We discussed this too. As much as we know, as smart as we are today, we don't know a hell of a lot.
Yep.
That's A, that's number one. And B, number two, of course, the work you do, which I'm leading up to, to me, it is so critically essential that we as individuals today need to be our own advocate and need to do as much as we can, and then to latch on and to find somebody like you who can take us and watch over us. And you'll talk about the work that you do.
Yeah.
I observe it, I see it, I have dramatic examples of it, and how you need to research, and so, which is what you did with your daughter. Just backtracking, because we're going to jump around a little bit. When you were talking about your daughter's gut, I'm looking at my notes. There's something I read in my notes, and let's just chat about that. Gut health and mental health. We think we know a lot. I'm actually just so much I'm trying to spit out now. You know, the whole institution of gut health, we don't know a lot. And I read, and you just said it, I read a lot of stuff about gut health, and it's so contradictory. It's like, what do you do?
Right.
But your comments on gut health.
Yeah. So, that's funny because you see and hear a lot, especially marketing, because America. But you see a lot, just take a probiotic, or you're now learning about postbiotics and prebiotics, and those are all great things, and I recommend them too. But the more aware you are with the strain and how that impacts each individual person on a different level, and how some standard recommendation can cause SIBO, it can cause other overgrowths of even healthy bacteria. Recommending somebody something just on a whim, like, oh, you should take a probiotic, and they go, what kind of probiotic? And then they just get one, and then that ends up causing a different issue, right? And so, for example, if you have a DAO enzyme issue and you have histamine intolerance, for example, the DAO is really in your gut. And so those bacteria need to be, or that enzyme and the bacteria in your gut need to be a different form, like than somebody else would. So I wouldn't just recommend a certain type for somebody if I know that they're experiencing histamine issues, right? And so it's really oftentimes in even, holistic and functional medicine, it's just like, oh, just take this. And it's like, but no, we need to do a little bit more deeper dive here and figure out the root, and then we need to address the things. And that's really where I come in. And I am no longer just take this recommendation, take this, because it comes from, doctors being big pharma attached to then functional people being supplement attached. And I'm like, no, let's back that up and see, one, do we need a supplement? Two, can we change things through our diet? And three, is there something else underlying there? And so there's more to it than just a plain old supplement recommendation to balance that gut and to get it healthy. There's dietary modifications, there's lifestyle changes, stress. All of that is going to impact not only your mental health, but your physical health as well. And your mental health is deeply connected to your ability for your body to function optimally. And if those genes are turning on or turning off, we don't want certain genes to be on that are likely on. And so that's where we work together to really get that in check and to balance your body out and give it the proper nutrition that it needs through whole food, if entirely possible.
Really involved. So involved, it's so intricate. Like I said, we think we know a lot, but we don't. So in your coaching, you talk about that. Let's talk about your coaching. But one of the things you do, and I was fascinated by this, is genetic blueprint.
So that genetic blueprint is the foundation of everything I do in my practice. And the reason for it is because a lot of times people will be like, oh, I did a 23andMe, or oh, I did this test, and it, give me the plus minus or the positive heterozygous, homozygous. That means nothing. That really doesn't tell you any sort of valuable information, except for they've isolated one gene out of all of your genes, and you could have it and it could be expressing. right? And so in this blueprint, what it does is it actually takes 160 different genes, and then it puts it in an algorithm to see how they're interacting together and what could be causing issues in real time. And then we're able to provide you with food, lifestyle, and nutritional supplements, if necessary, to modify into your life to support and optimize your
Wow.
genes, because your genes are different than my genes. And I've actually had a lot of people that have come through that, yes, need extra vitamin D, or yes, need extra, folate because of the MTHFR, they need folate. But they need it from food. And I can tell you specifically, you need to get more vitamin D through food. Don't supplement. Same thing with vitamin C. Or, oh, your B12 is not absorbing because this is not functioning properly. And so all these things that people experience in their life, by the end of the call, they're always crying every time, because it's the sense of relief and understanding and validation. And a lot of people have gone through so much gaslighting through the medical profession of like, well, you're just getting older. That's just how it is. And that's not how it is. Our bodies know how to work if given the right opportunity. But the problem is we don't know what that right opportunity is unless we take a deeper look. And so that is the foundation. Then I also offer a program over those 90 days to support you in learning 3 pillars really to optimizing your wellness. And that is through lifestyle. So that's going to be like nervous system regulation, stress, reduction, those types of things, detoxing, and then really heavy on nutrition, because most people don't learn how to eat. They just pick up something and eat it mindlessly. But we need to be eating for, sustaining our body and optimizing our body, not just to feel full. And people just eat to feel full. So too much fake food in the world. We need to be eating whole plant-based foods.
Yeah. I think I know I mentioned to you that in 1975, through the confluence of the universe, my awareness of being humanitarian and an animal lover, and also knowing that cows, for example, they graze in the grass. That was the song, graze in the grass. Cows graze in the grass, and this is what I determined in 1975 as I was a young kid. And you have to water the grass with tremendous amounts of water, which is a very precious commodity these days. And then the cows eat the grass, and of course, cows help to contribute methane to the atmosphere. But anyway, I put myself from that. I decided no more animals with 4 legs for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my commitment, which I've held firmly towards in all these years. So I haven't consumed anything with 4 legs. I say 4 legs because life isn't perfect, and I had to deal with the politics of my mother cooking, and now my wife out there cooking, and they just couldn't handle a vegan diet. So I had to be a politician, and I'm not. So I do, 2 legs and fish and stuff, but point being, how, and this again highlights what you do in your work, in your nutritional work. But that and nobody will ever know, actually. But all these years later, these 40 plus years later, when I had my coronary arteries looked at, calcium C2 scan, I found I had 0 coronary artery plaque. None.
Which is amazing. Yep.
Yeah, it is amazing. It is amazing. And 20% of that, and of course, there's always going to be, like, there are people who deny there's climate change. There's always going to be people, including a gastroenterologist friend of mine, who's going to deny that that had anything to do with, the internal stuff here. Nevertheless, and genes is only 20% of the picture. The other 80% is lifestyle, which you do. So, it works. What you do works, and of course, by not having any plaque, the blood flows clearly up here and allows me to think and function as good, if not better, than ever before, because I also have this thing called crystallized intelligence, meaning you're around for 70 years, you learn stuff, and it's still there,
Yeah.
So So I think it's an amazing thing what you do with the genetic blueprinting, fascinating, and really needed. If people take the time, and I'm promoting what you, if people take the time to partake of what you do, that can put them on such a wonderful course to make them productive and healthy for a long, long, long time. And actually, sometimes I want to reach out when I tell people about nutrition. I am no expert. You know, I'm blowing in the wind. I go with, the stuff little tidbits here and there, but it's like I want to slap somebody in the face and say, snap out of it. Like Cher did to Nicolas Cage in Moonstruck. Snap out of it, because this stuff works. It's
Yeah.
there. It works.
Yeah.
Anyway, uh, we talked about briefly. I think in my own, and you can you mentioned like vitamin D. I think there are certain things that it's almost epidemic in the fact that we're so deficient in that. You said vitamin D. I take vitamin D supplements. They're right here. It never stays far away from me. Oh, by the way, let's backtrack. Part of your credentials is you are, and I have to get this the right way. You are is it a drugless? You're a member of the American Association. I have to get it out right, of drugless practitioners. So
Yes.
what is that?
Yeah. So that's just a group of us that come together to work in a holistic mindset. So we don't operate with prescription drugs or any of that. It's all natural modalities and healing ourselves from within. Yeah.
Okay, but vitamin D supplements, would that be a natural
Yeah.
modality? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I started to say in my reading, it's epidemic that we're deficient in vitamin D.
Mhm.
And then a lot of people don't know this, but we're also deficient in vitamin C, and in that one instance, C and D are great friends, and they help each other get absorbed into the body, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, magnesium too, and I know that you and I chatted about that previously. My kids were even magnesium deficient, and when we were in Missouri at that time, we ate good. It wasn't we were living dairy and gluten free at that time. We'd started making those transitions, and they ate organic food. It wasn't like we were eating a bad diet, and they were having headaches and leg pain. And at first, the leg pain, you think it's pretty normal for kids and they're growing, but then the headaches were pretty persistent. And a lot of people nowadays will just run to the doctor and be like, give me a medication. And we went and got them adjusted. Those didn't relieve. So finally, when we went into the pediatrician, she had did a full talk, like a panel essentially, to figure out like, okay, what are we deficient in and where do we need support? And so from there, that's really where our journey with supporting Emma's autoimmunity, with her IgA deficiency kind of took off. And I was like, I know this isn't curable, but we're going to do the best we can to support her body with the things that it needs, whether or not that they can fully utilize it. So, but especially people with like restless leg syndrome, chronic migraines can be resulting from your food that you're eating that can be causing an issue. It can be resulting of histamine issues. But a lot of people are just like, pop an Excedrin, let's go. Like, instead of actually finding the root cause of those things. And a lot of time it's just being deficient in something that your body really needs. So getting those types of things addressed can really make a huge difference. And then your body can actually function and you can go through the day without pain or, suffering or any of those things. So
Another testimonial to the work you do, from my observation, I'm very health conscious, more now than ever before. I read a ton of articles when I go to see my physicians, plural. I've got a whole stack of them. I go in as prepared as I can be. But the bottom line is there's such limitations. Medicine today, it takes 3 hours to get a hold of a doctor, literally. It was so bad. I had one doctor literally on the phone 3 hours, just waiting just to talk to somebody to pass a message. Honest to God, So finally I got dressed. It was in the winter, it was cold. I got dressed, put on a sweater and a coat and my hat and earmuffs, and I drove to the doctor's office. Because it was only it was like a 5-minute ride, 10-minute ride. And I walked into the office and said, "Are you here for an appointment?" I said, "No, I'm here because the phone don't work."
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line, what I'm saying is the bottom line is uh uh people need to do so much more, like working with you and doing. There's so much to be done. There's so many, and medicine is what it is. It's wonderful. It's amazing. It's never been this good, and our lives are so much more enriched and better. But having a counselor, a coach like yourself
Mm-hmm.
is so critically important. By the way, how can people find you and stuff?
Yeah, so you can actually find me on TikTok, on Instagram, at MTHFR_coach. And I am on Facebook at MTHFR coach, no underscore there.
Okay,
But also you can go on my website at revitalizing-wellness.com
okay,
and check out some information there. We have a blog with all sorts of different info you can check out related to a variety of different health modalities that suit your fancy. Yeah.
okay. Again, it's funny. The more I think, and the more I'm listening to you, and by the way, that genetic blueprint is wow. To have that, and these are things that it's not going to be done. If you have a cold and you go to see a doctor, that's not going to be done. We just have so many limitations. They're overworked. There's just so many people, and so people do need the coaching that really. And I could tell you stories off camera too, how critically important what you do is. And I listen, I'm a medical snob. I love my doctors. They're great, and they're always there for me. But I know I have to do my own homework. I travel around because I guess I'm sort of OC. I travel around with a pad of blood work prescriptions.
Mhm.
So when I'm ever in the mood, I'll go have my blood, and I'll go look at all my minerals and all my stuff that you talk about, just to see
Yep.
where I'm at. I mean, I really do travel around.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the mood, and that's the kind of the work. So, I do this on my own, but the coaching is so critical, and I we got to talk about that coaching thing. It's fascinating to me. Well, because it's so needed.
Yeah.
Off topic. I always like to ask this because there's a couple of off topic things as we kind of wind down. And you don't have to answer this, but it's a cute question. I borrowed it from somebody. But excluding family or friends, Rhiannon, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Ooh. Warren Buffett.
There you go. Boom.
I lived in Omaha and he's an Omaha
Yeah.
native, so
By the way, that's a great answer. How does he do what he does? I mean, it's a gift. I
yeah.
guess it's a gift. Some people are just gifted that way. It's funny. I watched last night a biography of Clive Davis, this great music. He didn't start out that way, but kind of just stumbled into music and became the greatest musical agent. But and Warren Buffett, same type thing. Great answer. Another one of my favorite questions: favorite movies, actors, anything that comes to mind.
Obviously I love the Harry Potter series. I took a Harry Potter course in college, and that was actually one of the most difficult classes I ever
Wow!
took.
Wow!
Yeah, my undergrad, we had to read all of the books. So it was like over 4,000 pages in a semester. So
Wow.
it was pretty intense, but I loved that class. So love all of those books and movies. London Has Fallen, Gerard Butler. I like his stuff. I'm a big action movie type of person. So I do like Sean Connery. So I had some older, 007, those types of things. Those are
Me
my
too.
favorites.
Me too. It's funny. I can only watch. We get in this debate all the time with friends. I can't go past Sean Connery. With all due respect, Roger Moore is Roger Moore, and the whole
Yeah, same.
Sean Connery is James Bond.
He is, yep, he is
He
James
is
Bond.
James Bond.
Yeah.
And listen, I grew up and that was, I remember one Christmas, maybe it was Goldfinger came out. I think it was Christmas time. And the lines, they were showing it 24 hours a day in Manhattan. Oh yeah, well, because the lines were so
Yeah.
so long. I think I might have seen it at 2 a.m. or something. Yeah, but yeah, I'm a big Sean Connery um fan myself. So we did good.
Yeah.
We did good. Everybody will be able to see all the contact information. I'll have that. You have been illuminating, really illuminating, and I'm officially inviting you to come back in any
Thank
shape,
you.
way, form, panels, whatever. I just one quick question.
Yeah.
It's a new question. It just popped into my head. I knew I wanted to ask you this. This whole world of AI,
Mm-hmm.
and it's way too early to even begin to assess. But are you liking it, or are you reserved about it?
I
Uh,
love AI. I think it definitely like speeds up the processes of things that humans can make mundane. So like just writing content for a post, for example, you'll sit there for like 3 hours and be like, okay, is this what I want to do? What am I articulating that in the right way? Whereas you can throw a couple of prompts in an AI and it gives you like three, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the thing. That's what I was trying to do.
yeah.
So I do definitely feel like it's an accelerator. It's going to help us do things faster, with maybe some efficiency, but also we cannot lose the human connection, because human connection is what people crave. So using it as a tool, but not using it to replace
Right.
people or things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That was it just popped into my head. I've been trying to read and learn, and I was messing around with this chat stuff, and I asked him to do a biography of me. And it did a pretty good biography. Actually, it was very flowery.
Hmm.
It wasn't substantive because there's that human touch, but
Yep.
it was flowery. I did this, and so I have my reservations, but it's intriguing.
Hmm.
So we did good, Rhiannon. Thank you so much for your time,
Yeah.
your passion, your coaching, your energy. And this is to be continued. I
Yeah, absolutely.